make sure it's working.
Turn the mic on, Steve.
Turn the
Recorder on.
recorder on.
Still says live stream starting soon. Oh, now it is.
We're working.
All right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the May 12th, 2020 Village of Alexandria Bay Board Meeting. Roll call, Trustee Hurt.
Here.
Trustee Millett.
Here.
Mayor Jarvis, present. Trustee DeRigo. Here. Trustee Fulmer.
Here.
And now it's time for public concerns. It's posted for 482-9902 if anybody wants to call in a public concern.
I just need to say one thing. I'm watching it and it's not showing us what we're actually doing right now. Is there a lag time?
Would you like me to run and get the gentleman out?
Because it's not showing any of us moving.
But none of
It's
us
on
are
a
moving.
15-second delay when you move.
Okay?
Should we all
Yes.
get up and do the game?
No.
Well, you'll know it's moving.
Are we waiting for call-in?
We're waiting for comments. Any comments?
No, nobody's calling yet.
Oh, we have one.
No.
I was
Mr.
just
Peach.
told, yes, it works.
Okay, Mr. Peach was
Yep.
calling, he's having trouble getting on the bus.
Okay.
Okay.
So, phone's not ringing. Everything's good.
We're good?
Okay, so we'll move on to correspondence. Correspondence is a letter from the town of Alexandria. As you know, the town of Alexandria is in the process of purchasing the former Bonnie Castle Recreation Center. This venue, when completely renovated, will be a great asset to our community. At this time, we are looking for you to help in this venture. Would you be willing to write a letter using your letterhead and send it to Northern Border Regional Committee stating your support for this project? Sample letter is enclosed for your use, or you may write your own. This is one of 5 funding agencies that we are applying for grants from. We will be asking you to do this again each time we apply for the different agencies. These letters need to be sent to the town of Alexandria so we can endorse them with our application. We appreciate anything you can do to help us. When this is all complete, everyone in the town and the surrounding area will benefit from restaurants, hotels, kids' sports, concerts, etc. Would you please be able to get us to us as soon as possible, either by mail or email? We have to file our application by early May, so we'd like to have the letter by the end of April. Thank you for your help in this matter. Please remember to send the letters back to us. Brent Sweet, Town Supervisor.
You sure you had the dates right in there? You said early May and end of April. We're in the middle of May now.
That's what it says.
What's the letter dated?
April 16th.
Where's it down?
Pardon me?
Where's it down?
In the folder
In the okay.
for correspondence.
So they want us to write a letter in support of it, right?
And they did supply a sample letter to the Northern Border Regional Commission.
I think we should send a letter with support. I mean, it's gonna help with grant money and everything else. I'll make it a motion.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Motion by Trustee Millett, second by Trustee DeRigo to send a letter for the town. All in favor, please respond. Yes?
Yeah, I'll say yes.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Before we go forward, this is
You gotta
David
call it.
Peach for public concerns.
Yep.
So shall I?
Yep.
You ready to go on? Okay.
This is David Peach.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. I have really 3 questions. questions, and this all has to do with the general fund. The first one is, are you planning on instituting additional budget cuts or making any other decisions other already discussed at earlier meetings? And as a follow-up concerning the budget cuts, have you considered furloughs for some employees, and or have you considered a pay cut across the board at somewhere 10 to 25% for a set number of weeks or months? That's basically it.
Well, the only people that we have working are union workers left at this time. So,
If you're talking about DPW, we have 6 workers, and they're all essential workers. They have one at the sewer plant, one at the water plant, obviously they're very essential. At this time, we're not planning on opening up the golf course, the clubhouse. So we're not hiring the clubhouse employees, the beach with the lifeguards, the docks with the dock attendants.
Can I talk? Mr. Peach, this is Trustee Fulmer. I think we spoke the other week and I expressed that we left the 2021 budget the way it was when we passed it, just in case the world got back to normal, but we are prepared now, because the world is not back to normal, to not cut, but not spend monies that we have in the budget, and I think the number I gave you was about $244,000.
Right, yes, I remember that discussion, but look, drastic times take drastic measures, and I just want to make sure that y'all are thinking ahead. That's all. I have nothing more. Thank you very much.
Dave?
Yes.
Are you still there? At this time, as you said, hiring workers back, this is Shooky, hiring workers back. Right now, we have 16 workers that we did not bring back at this time, 15 workers at this time, and we have
Right,
one.
those were seasonal workers, if I'm not mistaken.
And one part-time, our court girl, we have it part-time now. We laid her off in the court system, and she's only being a deputy clerk. She only works 20 hours a week. Outside of that, we just have our DPW guys. So.
All right, well, I listened to parts of the last meeting and I'll listen more to this meeting, so, thank you very much for taking my call.
Okay, David, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Yeah, bye.
All set?
Yep.
Next is, minutes. Need a motion to approve the meeting from April 4th, 2020, public hearing. And
I'll make it a motion that we accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
motion by trustee Millet, you said trustee.
I'll second.
Second by trustee Fulmer, all in favor?
Aye.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to pay the bills, pay abstracts number 22 and number 23.
I'll make the motion to pay abstracts 22 and 23.
Motion by trustee Fulmer,
Second.
second by trustee DeRigo, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carried. Old business, amendment number 1, ready grant.
Did you skip some?
Yeah, what about the
We're going to reports or anything like that?
Oh, we didn't put that in, did we?
Yeah, it's in
No
mine.
wonder did.
It's in mine.
No, I don't have one.
Trustee Millet.
Report, zoning
Well,
officer report.
the first one's trustee reports, and, on the golf course at this time, we do not have anybody on the golf course, but Jared has had his crew out there doing the golf course, and we have got a lot of compliments on the golf course, and I think Jared's crew and Jared as a group has really went out of their way. And, I want to thank them for everything they're doing. They've got the golf course looking great. We aren't allowing any golf carts on the golf course at this time, but people can walk on the golf course. It's closed, but people can still play out there. So if you see people out there, they're allowed to play.
Are we gonna be bringing Bud back? For, so
That's a
that-
discussion down the road in personnel. Okay?
Trustee Fulmer?
I don't have a report right now because mine are all under old business 1, or actually 3, 4, and 5.
Trustee DeRigo?
I have no report right now. I did get a hold of all the dock attendants and told them what our situation is right now, and that we would be getting back to them if things cleared up here, if we needed them. I left it at that for now.
Thank you.
I have no report at this time.
And I don't have a report from
Jared?
Jared or Josh.
Well, I gotta tell you, I know Jared hasn't put a report in, but people have been putting stuff out on the road, and these guys are on the spot. Branches, brush, everything, they are on the spot picking it up.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is
people call in and they're already there picking it up. Huh?
This is trash week.
This is trash week, and and
They're
it's only
picking it
certain
up
streets,
fast.
and I see them picking up other
They're
streets,
picking
so.
up, yeah,
yeah.
everywhere.
So they're doing a great job.
You're doing a great job.
Yep.
A zoning report?
I was just gonna ask. Lee, any report?
Yeah, a couple of things I want to bring the board up to speed on. Last fall, the ZBA had a variance from Hills Motor Court. They did not approve the fingers of the docks. They were removed. There still is another main finger out into the Otter Bay. I do have a site plan application for that, but I have deemed it not complete. I sent correspondence back to, the attorney and haven't heard anything from him. I am going to do the necessary paperwork to have the main extension removed through a stop work order. And it's gonna take a little time to do the necessary, give people time to remove it and stuff. I suggested to the attorney last fall, it would be good omens if he removed that main floater out into the bay. It would just keep everybody feeling a little bit better, but the motion did not include only the 3 fingers, so, we'll probably, and again, if we get into some type of litigation with the court systems, I somewhat dragged my feet until we know when, you know, if we have to bring the owner into village court or not with it. The other issue, I've had a complaint, from, about Harbor Villas, about not following the site plan. It pertains to parking on, Anthony Street Extension. Supposedly, and I'm trying to research minutes, that there were stones placed there to deter parking. And again, there's about 6 inches of paperwork to go through and stuff, and I haven't found anything where it pertains to that, but the original developer is the one that, said we were not following the site plan, so that's an ongoing thing. Now there's a homeowners association involved there. They would be the ones responsible for following up on the site plan that was approved by the board back in 2005. So, doing some research and stuff, and, you know, undoubtedly, no one in this room was involved in any of the boards at the time, so, Shoki is gonna talk to the secretary of the ZBA and see if she can remember any of the, correspondence that went on there, so. It would be the stones would be on village property. The fence that goes down through there is right on, the white fence is right on the edge of the property. So the stones would be on village property, so this is where I gotta try to find out if the original site plan still specifies that these stones be there. They're rocks, I shouldn't say stones, you know, they're 100 pounds apiece, so. But just to bring the board up to speed, you know, on those 2 items.
Can I ask you a question on that? Going down Anthony Street, if you're going down Anthony Street from Walton Street, if that's considered Anthony Street Extension, so all the way down Anthony Street on the right-hand side, from Walton Street, there's no parking. That would continue, that's an Anthony Street Extension, am I right or wrong? It's all still the same street.
If it's the same street, it's the same street.
Yeah, I mean, we might wanna look into that, at that avenue on that also, because, like I said, there's no parking on the right-hand side of Anthony Street, and that's continuing of the street.
Well, if that's the case, then
And that
would
might
the
be-
village, would
yeah.
the village be the one that need to put the signs up, no parking?
I would think if it's in our ordinance, and I think it gives the no parking things in our ordinance, what streets can't park on, and I think that's in there. Anthony Street.
Right. What about Anthony Street Extension?
Well, Anthony Street, that's just an extension of Anthony Street, it's all
Okay.
still the same street, still same number.
Okay.
So the problem is people are parking along this fence,
Along the fence, and
then
then,
they put these big boulders up to prevent people from parking there.
and then the original developer had some pictures of it, making that turn once Pine Tree comes back online is even gonna make a tougher turn in through there. Anybody taking a boat down in there and stuff and getting enough arc to miss that corner, so.
So, those condos didn't come with parking? Is that what
Yeah,
we're saying?
there's parking
Parking.
down further,
Just too far for them to walk.
too far to
Oh.
walk.
Okay,
And there's some parking there that was, Pine Tree owns the property, but they've been given permission to park there. And that's in the village. Part of those townhouses are in the town, so. That's all I have, unless there's any other questions, with it.
I'm getting a text on, the thing about the questions on the thing, about the
Questions on-
open container deal, so
that's-
when we mention it, we'll tell them when to call in, okay? Okay? I'm not gonna keep answering that thing, I gotta pay attention to me.
Yes, I get the one on something else too.
maybe you should mention out loud again the phone number for when we open up for discussion? Do people know they can
Yes,
call the?
and it's also on the screen.
Oh, okay.
He wants to know if there's public participation, and, we already had that at the beginning, but we're gonna have it at the end also, right? We'll
Yes.
have it at the end also.
Yes, that'll be at the end.
Okay,
Yeah,
and that's,
public
and that's
concerns
at the end, that's
at the
at the
end.
end also, Ronnie.
Right, at the end.
Now to old business. Amendment number 1 for the Ready Grant. I believe we tabled this at the last meeting.
Oh, where was all that money?
We did,
Oh, yes.
and we fixed it. Go ahead.
Go ahead, yeah, that's right. We were all confused when we got that paperwork that night, cause it was short notice, but if you really read it over, and I know Judy did, and I did, and I neglected to bring it with me, I don't know if you did, but it's less money. It's not more money, it's gonna be less
Right.
money.
So just the way they presented it.
It's just
that.
That short of notice, we didn't get to look it over, and it looked like we were gonna be paying a lot more money. After I got home and did the figures on that, and I think Judy did the same thing, if we'd had them an hour earlier, we could've figured it out, and we'd have known that we were gonna be saving money, so if that's something we gotta make a motion on, I make a motion that we accept it. and do it.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by trustee Millet, second by trustee Palmer, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thomas is happy now. We didn't get a phone call from him. Number 2 is Gordon Court Apartments.
Okay, that's me.
You've been working,
Gordon Court Apartments. I don't know if everybody realizes it, but there hasn't been a contract there for quite some time. And they haven't had board meetings. We've lost a lot of funding. As a matter of fact, I just got a thing on the email that Molly couldn't open, but I did read it in there. She couldn't print it or anything, but we're losing funding, for Gordon's Court for different things that they can do there. So I called a lady by the name of Bonnie Murray. She's the USDA, representative. And we had a long talk, and she suggested that maybe we ought to regroup the whole situation. So I asked her about some names of different places to, check into. And I really, called, and the one that I got the best results out of is United Helpers out of Ogdensburg. They're the closest place around. They have 19 other places, and they're in the process of getting another one closer to us here. They feel that if they get ours and the other one closer, that they'll have a maintenance person here 2 days a week to do maintenance all the time. But we have to go back a little bit because our board members are all gone. So, our attorney, Mr. Burrows, called, was talking to me on the phone, and I told him I was working on names of people for board members. We're supposed to have 5 board members there. And I understand I don't know if we have one, none, or whatever, but I understand there's none there. So I went out and talked to a few people and asked them if they'd be willing to be on the board. So I talked to Bonnie Murray, and she's the USDA lady, and told her that I didn't want to go 5, I only wanted to do 3, and let the 3 people that are on the board pick the other 2 people that, vote on the other 2 people, so it'd be the village board going out there and taking over the whole project. So she thought that was a good idea. So I have 3 names for people to be on the board, and I'll tell you the names. One of them is Sue Holdridge. She's up on Otter Street.
Yeah. What's her last name?
Holdridge, Holdridge. I got their names and their addresses right here.
Yep.
The second one is Linda Reynolds. She's out on County Route 2. And the third one is Sue Fitch over on Cornwall Street. So, I would like to have a motion to make these 3 people board members.
And they all wanna do it?
Absolutely. I've met with all 3 of them. I have one other person out there that hasn't committed yet, but, I think these board members may want that person, but I told them it's up to them now after this. But, I think that we should go with these 3 board members, and then they will pick a chairman out of the board members, which will meet with probably Jim, maybe, and myself as the liaison, to have the chairman meet with the United Helpers to sign the paperwork to get the work switched over. Am I right?
Yeah, just a couple quick things under the Public Housing Authorities Law. I mean, from a technical standpoint, the mayor makes the appointment of members, of the board members for your housing authority. So if you've got vacancies, it certainly makes sense. You've done all the homework, the legwork. If you can make the recommendation, and basically be a resolution in support with the hope that the mayor would make the appointment of those 3 individuals. Then what would happen is if those individuals have a recommendation of 1 or 2 additional people, same process, they would look to the board in the hope that the mayor makes the appointment to fill those additional vacancies, keeping in mind you only need 3 members on that board for your quorum to act. Now, one of the important functions of that board is going to be to select a company, a management company to manage the facility. From a technical standpoint, that board is the entity that has to make that selection. There again, you've done the legwork to go through the approved list that the USDA has, and out of the different companies on that list, you've been able to winnow it down to some that made the most sense. And if that's your recommendation, that's perfect. The hope has to be ultimately that the board that would be selected would support that and would then enter into a contract. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention is this. I know that I've worked with the USDA on this, and my hope is I'll be able to report to the USDA tomorrow about the activities this evening. But keep in mind that what I don't know is I do not know if there's a contract right now with the Housing Authority and a different management company. I want to make sure that we're not going to be in breach on that. Mm-hmm. And if there's a contract that's in place, then because of the many shortcomings that I'm aware of, we put them in breach, and then recommend that the Housing Authority Board be able to retain this new company. But there's a lot of steps, a lot of moving parts in that, but it looks like you're making great progress.
And when I talked to Bonnie Murray, she said there was no contract at the time. So
okay.
She gave me a list of things that we should have to get from okay. other management companies. So I would make a recommendation for those 3 people to be on the board, Mayor.
So it's your motion.
I can't make it a motion, I think it's just an
Right, you
appointment.
Well, it'd be a recommendation, hopefully from the board, but ultimately, Mayor, you're the individual that makes the appointment.
Well, I'm asking the rest of the board.
Yep.
I'm fine.
Sounds good.
So everybody's good with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Get them
So
squared away.
Okay,
I'd like to appoint those,
3, okay.
the three,
And I
and
told the 3 of them.
you wanted to be on, the committee also,
I'm
correct?
not gonna be a committee man, I'm just gonna be the
You be the
liaison,
liaison.
no, well, but what I told them was that we have to have 5 people, so they're going to have to go out and find 2 other people and bring them to the board within the next couple of months in order to fill the board.
Now, with the appointment then, Mayor, if you make that appointment, each individual, the term of office, would be a 5-year
5,
term.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And that, the question I'd have then, if these 3 individuals, Sue Holdrich, Linda Reynolds, and Sue Fitch, if they'll be appointed by you, Mayor, to consider, when the appointment takes effect, today, for instance, and then the question would be, okay, will one serve a 5-year term, one a 4, one a 3, or whatever your pleasure may be?
Discussed that with them already, and it's real simple. We're gonna put their 1, 2, 3 in the hat, and, whoever gets the number, that's the number they're gonna be. They already, 5, 4, 3 is what we're gonna do, and they were all happy with that. Yeah. How else
I'd like
can
to
you do
make
it?
the appointment for
Huh?
the Gordon Court, thank you.
Yes, we're gonna put, in the hat, on number 5, a number 4, and a number 3, and that's gonna be their number 8. And then the next 2 left will be a 2 and a 1.
Sounds like the way to do it.
How else can you do it? Okay, that's all I've got on that then, I guess.
Number 3 is Church Street Waterline updates, Casino Island updates, and ready notice.
Okay, Church Street water line is progressing. They're back. You've seen them doing sidewalks this week. And the grass on the one side is done, and there's still work that needs to be done. Casino Island, they were out, I didn't see them there this week yet, but they're almost finished. And then everybody has a photo of a ramp to get from the bridge down onto Casino Island. We have funding, hopefully enough funding left to do this. We would have, Fiaco, give us a price, and depending where that price comes in, may end up putting it out to bid.
Okay, Jared met with Tim today, and they went over, because this angle, this ramp is taking up a large part of the island, you know, that end. And I know when we first met about Casino Island, Jared had asked for the back and forth, which would take up less area of Casino Island, and yet it would still be ADA compliant. And everybody got one of these too. So,
And it would look like that. I talked to Gregor today, and as we just need to, if we want him to draw that up quickly, he will.
yep.
So I can get that.
It's,
If we prefer that over this.
and
How much more is that gonna cost us just to have them draw that? Because I probably could draw that.
It's not.
actually, I did talk about that.
He
and
said
it
he's
was-
gonna
your
do
drawing.
it, he was gonna do
He's
it.
not.
He's not.
He's not.
Well,
No charge.
I thought that's the way it was gonna be, is zigzag from the very beginning.
That's what I thought.
So, we make the decision tonight, well, which,
What
No,
do
I
you-
think we need to see it before we
We
make
need
a
to see
decision.
Yeah.
the cost on it.
you wanna see the drawing before. It's gonna be like this, though.
Right, but I wanna see where it's gonna go on the island.
Okay.
And is Jared still gonna be able to get a lawnmower through there, a push
So
mower,
we need to-
have to allow.
a push mower?
You need to, make a motion that would table this for another meeting.
Yes.
Good evening.
Can we table this to the meeting on the 21st?
Absolutely, I think we
Yes.
should.
I'll make a motion to table this for the 21st.
I'll second that.
We should have a
Yeah,
drawing by
15.
then.
Okay.
Yes, yes, we will have a drawing by then.
Oh, it's Thomas. Yeah,
That was you, Shuki,
What's that?
made the motion.
okay, so
I
he
made the
is
motion.
back.
You
I
made
made
the
the
motion.
motion, she
I
said,
second.
Judy
Wait,
seconded.
we have Thomas on the phone?
Thomas said he'll, get with Gregor to redesign it this way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have it for the 21st?
Yeah.
Can we have it for the 21st?
Should take 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye.
And on number 3, I don't know what ready notice is.
Ready notice?
Ready
Isn't that what we just?
Ready, that's gonna be up in the new business.
Is that what we did already?
Right.
No, that'll be number 5 in new business.
Oh,
We
okay.
have to do, a special
Okay.
meeting for
The secret.
the grant,
Okay,
the
yep.
seeker,
On the
and the
20th.
bond resolution.
Okay.
That's not one of them real lines you gotta read as again.
I don't believe I'm the one that's involved with that particular process.
I know they're like 20-some pages
They
long.
can be, they can be, yep.
Do they plan on having that ramp done this summer so we can use
Yes.
Casino
Yes.
Island?
Yes.
Casino Island is gonna be open, right?
Yes.
Casino Island is gonna be open, Roger.
Okay.
Water plant,
Water plan or IMA agreement?
wa-
Number 4, I have IMA agreement.
no, I'm still on
Casino
the
Island.
project update,
I said Church Street is,
on this one here.
What's the IMA thing?
Oh. Some of this isn't me. Asset management plan is on track. Casino Island, that tells you still have topsoil work finished, minor work on the wall. BCA's, we're redoing the ramp. Church Street, the sidewalk replacement has been completed. They have prepped for the placement of topsoil along the left-hand side,
South side.
south side of the street, and JL plans on completing the topsoil and the asphalt hopefully next week, depending on the weather. They should be finished. The rate study for the water sewer, initial information has been, submitted to the village clerk. When she gets that, they'll move on. And the ready is, everybody has that. Village, we're setting our meeting date, special board meeting to complete the seeker, which is May 21st. And we did the amendment and the water treatment plant study. I have to ask Thomas if this is the water treatment plan and the sewer plant study. I thought they were being combined, but I'm not sure, and, that's just waiting on official notice to proceed. And streetscape, I think everybody saw EDR here last week surveying.
Yes. You're being.
There's Thomas.
Good evening. Okay, Thomas, how are you? Okay,
I put them on
they're
speaker?
separate.
They're separate, okay. All I need is the,
You just speak
Okay.
now.
Want to put them on speaker?
Oh, hold on, can I put you on speaker and then you can just tell everybody? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so the water and sewer study are two separate, agreements that are going on with BCA. For the water treatment plant, we submitted a grant application to Rural Development, and they've been requesting some additional information. In the end of April, they made a recommendation for the village to receive funding to the state office, so that we're just waiting for them to respond back, yes or no on that.
is that the PPG grant?
Yes, that's the PPG grant.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions on that for Thomas?
No.
Thank you, Thomas.
No problem.
Thanks, Tom.
And, if you want me to call in again, I'm watching, so I'll just call.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Number 4 is IMA agreement.
Okay, I think, before I say anything about IMA agreements, do you wanna go first, or?
Sure, if you'd like, I can talk about the IMAs.
The one thing I do wanna make known, I think everybody got a copy of an email that came from the town today at 4:34 PM that none of us had had a chance to read yet.
let me go back, a little bit of background to make sure we're on the same page. So the village has the ability and does indeed provide water to village residents with their infrastructure. And pursuant to village law, Article 11, and also general municipal law, Article 5C, a village has the ability to sell water to outside entities, to outside water districts. So apparently what happened many, many years ago, 15 years ago, was the town of Alexandria had several districts, and at that time there were 4, now there are 5. And at that time, pursuant to village law and general municipal law, the village apparently agreed that it would sell water to the town of Alexandria. The town of Alexandria formed a number of water districts to do that, and one of the things that had to happen was a contract between each town district and the village needed to be entered into that would spell out the rights and responsibilities of all the parties. Those contracts are just referred to as intermunicipal agreements. So they've been in place since 2005 for 4 of those districts. Now, at the same time, what some prior village board did was it adopted Chapter 145 of the Village Code that addresses water and does indeed make sure that you have the ability, future village boards can indeed sell water to those other districts. And your hands are tied in large part by what Chapter 145 provides. When you sell water, you're required to also make a profit. It's covered in, I think it's 145-2. And the reason is because there are certain administrative costs with any of these matters, and you're also pledging the full faith and credit of the village when you engage in financing, so there's risk involved with it. So you've got that template where you can sell water to outside users. The town of Alexandria back in 2005, they agreed to do the same. They agreed to buy water. Now, presumably at that point, you had your engineer, the village engineer would have been actively involved. The town engineer would have been actively involved to figure out the nuts and bolts of those arrangements. And at that time, presumably, the village attorney and the attorney for the town of Alexandria would be actively involved with the nuts and bolts. And that culminated in these different contracts. In 2005, they were approved. They became effective. Each contract is a little bit different in many ways, and as the years have gone by, things have changed, times have changed. One of the things that happened was the town of Alexandria formed yet another water district. I refer to it as the Alexandria district. It's along Route 12, and that provides water to many residents in the town of Alexandria. And so apparently that culminated in yet a 5th intermunicipal agreement between the village and the town. And there again, the village attorney, Mark Gibo, very good attorney, sophisticated with these matters. The town attorney, Joe Russell, very good attorney, and sophisticated in these matters. And the engineers, they went through the nuts and the bolts, and they came up with an intermunicipal agreement for that district as well. We live in New York State. Nothing's ever easy. The DEC regulates municipalities in so many ways. One of the things that the DEC requires is what's known as a water withdrawal permit. And they've changed those requirements more recently. And so the village, in looking to comply with all these DEC requirements, had to renew water withdrawal permits. Okay, now times have changed, things have changed, and so what happened was last summer, our engineer identified the fact that the efforts to renew the water withdrawal permits, they were still pending with the DEC. The DEC hadn't done much at that time, and so the DEC was kind of dusting things off and wanted to make sure that the village obtained water withdrawal permits. Now, the other thing that happened at the same time was in the town of Alexandria, they'd apparently expanded in some areas with some of these districts, and so those intermunicipal agreements had to be examined. Now, what apparently had happened sometime before last summer, apparently a prior village board and a prior town board had questions in regard to water rates. Now, your water rates, they're specified by a couple different areas. One is your village code, chapter 145. Also, each intermunicipal agreement that you entered into had provisions on water rates. It was found, I believe, in section 7 of each of these different intermunicipal agreements. So what happened was apparently at some point prior to last summer, some questions arose as to, what's the process and how do you arrive at water rates? Well, apparently what happened was sometime prior to last summer, the village attorney met with the town attorney, and the town engineer and the village engineer were all involved in coming up with a process that was apparently easier to understand, clear for everybody, and they identified this as a billing addendum. The billing addendum addressed three things. It addressed treatment and supply and distribution. Those are the real three areas: treatment, supply, and distribution. And then the experts, the engineers at that time, they went through the fixed costs and the variable costs. They came up with a formula that they thought made really good sense. So last summer, when I was asked to look at these intermunicipal agreements and kind of dust them off and make sure we've covered everything, that for the first time, the billing addendum was identified. Apparently, the town of Alexandria thought that that's what had applied, but it had never been adopted by the town, never been adopted by the village. So at that time, the village board thought, well, fair is fair. You're not trying to penalize someone. The people in the town are your friends and your neighbors. You're certainly going to continue to be good friends and neighbors with everybody. You just want to be fair. And if there had been efforts made to refine and clarify how this billing should take place, you want to make sure that everybody's following it. And as it turns out, that process is the same process that you've been using anyway. It's just memorialized in the billing addendum. So what happened was in looking at that time, the 5 intermunicipal agreements, the attorney for the town at that time, Joe Russell, and we went through these 5 intermunicipal agreements and made certain changes to them, recommended changes as far as duration, addressing the billing, etc. And one of the big things that had changed was one of these districts, I'll call it the Alexandria district, the Route 12 corridor, that had some significant changes with it, because as you probably know, what's happened is in the last few years, the town of Orleans has also formed a water district to basically make sure that its residents have safe drinking water, because many of those residents, their drinking water was not safe. It was contaminated, dangerous to consume, damaging to appliances. So in any event, that was a factor. And next door, people in the town of Clayton, they also had some water problems and concerns. And so Clayton formed a water district. And so one of the key components with that particular intermunicipal agreement was, in addition to dealing with those other issues, making sure that it was refined to encompass Orleans and Clayton. Long and short of it was this board was very, very patient with me in the process. We came to the point that we had each of these intermunicipal agreements reviewed, revised, refined, so everything was acceptable. That led to the finished product last December, and as of last December, after the town of Alexandria's representative, its lawyer, confirmed that everything was fine, that's when this board, back in December of 2019, formally adopted resolutions to approve the amendments to each of these 5 intermunicipal agreements. And again, you're doing that in part to make sure that they're accurate, but also because it's required through the DEC to get water withdrawal permits. You've got to make sure we're up to date on it. So at that point, once that had been taken care of, the town of Orleans, it also approved the changes to the intermunicipal agreement. The town, when I say the town of Orleans, the town board of Orleans. The town board of Clayton similarly reviewed and approved the amendment to that particular intermunicipal agreement. So we were ready to go, except we had not yet received the signed documents from the town of Alexandria.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
This is what they all look like, everybody got this when we all voted on this. And this is the one, for Town of Orleans, New York State Route 12 District. This is signed by our mayor, and it was sent back to the town where it had been previously approved, all of these IMA agreements in December. So that's where we were, as he just said. We have not gotten any of these back yet signed, other than we know that Clayton signed it and Orleans signed it.
Yeah, and so what you've got then is in December of 2019, the village board agreed with those changes, those refinements. And again, one of the things that was a bit of a sticking point was the town of Alexandria really wanted that billing addendum that had been worked on by the experts so long ago. And this board went through the process and agreed because it was fair. It was a lot of effort that had been undertaken quite some time ago. It was fair, it was accurate, and again, the experts were involved with it, the engineers. And so the long story short, the village approved everything in December. Sometime in January, the Orleans and Clayton also approved it. Then we've been waiting for the town of Alexandria. I have conferred with the attorney for the town of Alexandria, Joe Russell. Again, very good lawyer. He deals with these topics all the time with many, many towns and villages. And he was involved with this many, many years ago with Mark Gibo. And anyway, I received multiple assurances, yep, it's going to be signed by the supervisor anytime. And then this board's been patient with me. Judy, you've typically been the point person to inquire what the status has been. And I've reached out to Joe Russell many times and was getting the same message, that it's going to be approved, it's going to be signed, it's going to be, you know, the next month, et cetera. And admittedly, with COVID-19, that's kind of changed the dynamics. But that was always the assurance I got. Until, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I'm saying a couple of weeks, so I don't know the specific date. But at that time, I learned that apparently in the town of Alexandria, there was a new elected town board member. The town board member is Mike Fayette, and for whatever reason, Mr. Fayette apparently decided that he desired to review each of the long-standing intermunicipal agreements from 2005 forward. They're public documents. He certainly has a right to do that, and he's just being diligent. But in doing that, he identified apparently 13 concerns that he had with the different intermunicipal agreements. And I certainly don't know what his comments may have been to town board members in Alexandria, but those comments apparently were important to him, and he wasn't prepared to go forward with signature. Now, these are board matters, and as you know, a quorum is 3 of 5. All the town of Alexandria needs is 3 board members to go forward with it. Why it hasn't happened, I don't know. But when I looked at the laundry list of the 13 points that were identified by Mr. Fayette, and I can tell.
Do you have it with you?
I do have it with me. I mean, numbers 1 through 9, to be candid, they mean nothing to the village of Alexandria Bay. Items 1 through 9 only pertain to issues between the town of Alexandria, town of Orleans, and town of Clayton. Now, I'm not going to go into those issues because I think they're certain. I know they're certainly totally irrelevant from the village of Alex Bay, but those are issues that, for whatever reason, Mr. Fayette now, years later, thinks that there's problems with what the engineers have done, what the lawyers have done. I don't know. I think he's mistaken. He's misguided, but that's an issue between those towns, not the village. There are other issues that he's identified. Number 10. That would potentially be a village issue. I've looked at it. I'm sorry, he's mistaken. Number 11, he addresses, and he's similarly mistaken on that from my standpoint. The last 2 issues he's identified are more technical issues, numbers 12 and 13, and those do potentially involve the village, but the reality is those are engineering issues. Those are issues that our engineer, who's licensed, who certainly is very, very sophisticated with these matters, could look at and resolve, along with the engineer for the town of Alexandria, who is the same engineer for Orleans and Clayton, Rob Campany. Now, I'll say this, I know that the former attorney here in the village, Mark Gibo, he is a very good, sophisticated attorney, and he would have been involved with many of these documents, and the attorney for the town of Alexandria, Joe Russell, excellent lawyer. He deals with these topics very, very good. The engineers, I've worked with Rob Campany, the engineer for the town of Alexandria, for 20 years. He's extremely competent with these issues. Now, the village engineer, Gregor Smith, I didn't know him anywhere near as well, although I've known him and his work for a full decade. He's excellent. So when I look at a couple issues, numbers 12 and 13 on the list that Mr. Fayette has, they're engineering questions, and I would simply say that if there's an issue, let the engineers take a quick look at it and see if there's some error made or not. I suspect you're gonna find that, no, the engineers did what you thought they would do, which is completely correct, but that's a quick fix, because I mean, I'm old enough now to know that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And I genuinely don't know Mr. Fayette. I'm sure he's very bright and very, very sincere with his concerns, but I'm not in a position to convince him one way or another. I think what has to happen is the board in the town of Alexandria will need to do whatever it needs to do so that it can get 3 votes out of 5. And if they think they need their engineer involved, they ought to. My recommendation is that numbers 12 and 13, they're a bit technical. It probably would make sense to share this with our engineers. They take a quick look at it and see if there is any issue or are any issues at all. But at this point, there's a couple things that you'll keep in mind, and it's that one, these agreements, not only are they long-standing with a lot of different people, a lot of different boards involved with them, but they've been approved by the EFC. These agreements are supported by the DEC, and it's important that we get it done with the water withdrawal permits. Now, you can't force the town of Alexandria board to go forward. I mean, they need to if they want to get water from the village, and I'm assuming that once they go through this process, all will be well. Now, today, our meeting started at 5:30. At 5:26, I learned that apparently the supervisor for Alexandria had sent an email out. The trustee Fulmer provided that to me at 5:26. I haven't had a chance to review it or the attachments. And my confession, I'm not real tech savvy. When I look at a smartphone, it's a lot smarter than me, so I can't go through all the attachments and see exactly what it is. But I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say that it's going to be fine. I think that when I get a chance to go through the email, we'll see what the attachments are, we'll see what they're providing to us, and my instinct is that some of these questions that have been identified, they aren't relevant to the village. They may very well be relevant to the town and the town of Clayton and the town of Orleans, and if that's the case, then they should take care of it, but they shouldn't hold everybody else hostage. Now at the same time, from a fairness perspective, if there are issues that are engineering questions between the town of Alexandria and the village of Alex Bay, well, fine. And I'm not an engineer. Let our engineer take a look at it and give us a set of brains on it. But the key is that this board has an obligation to be above board and to comply with the DEC. And the DEC, they're going to be looking for the information so we can get the water withdrawal permits renewed. So that's sorry, it's a long version of saying that's kind of what's been going on. So that's kind of where we are right now. I'll look at the email with the attachments tomorrow and see where the heck we are.
Thank you.
Yes.
What I need to say to everybody about this is I feel, and I've only been here almost 3 years, I feel like I'm stuck in a movie Groundhog Day. And it's over and over again, we are doing the same thing. As he said earlier, we started this in 18, 19, now we're 20 again. In essence, basically doing the same thing. And he is correct. We do not have current water withdrawal permits because we do not have current IMA agreements, which we need. And shame on the town if they had problems. If everything was okay in December, well then sign, because to come to us and to go to everybody else, they had to have been approved by the village attorney, or by the village and the town in order to get out and get sent for mailing. So, fine, sign what we worked on. We spent 2 years up till December of 2019. And what really bothers me is that in my position as a trustee for the village of the water department, my job is to protect the residents and businesses of the village, okay? And we've said this before, for 11 years, the village, meaning the village residents and businesses, have supported the town, okay? We attempted to change that. We had a water rate increase in January for the town. It was the first one in 11 years. So I don't understand the problem. If they were approved, it should have been signed in December. If everybody was okay with it, and then if somebody else had a problem, well, okay, fine, let's move on and make an amendment to fix it. But don't hold up the water withdrawal permit from the DEC, because there are people out there, like Orleans, that need our water. There is nowhere else they can get it from. The other thing, I look at this as a resident. I live in the village, but I also live in the town. And town residents need to understand that 18 and 19, the village has spent thousands of dollars between attorneys and engineers. And so has the town spent thousands of dollars to get to December of 2019 with these agreements. Now we're doing it again. It is now May of 2020, and again, we are spending more money. And what people need to understand is, at the end of the year, when we get to a point where we say, okay, we sold 92 million gallons, and we're trying to figure out our costs and everything, to the town of Alexandria, our fees for attorneys and engineers goes into the admin line. So all of this money that we are spending on these IMA agreements is going to be billed to the town residents and businesses who use water, okay? My opinion is it's time to stop now. It's time for somebody to make a decision to sign these. And like I said, to me, the village is not trying to take advantage of the town in any way at all. We had a slight water increase after 11 years, and I don't think that it was an awful increase. If we look into places around us, please, it's not even worth discussion. But to keep doing this, the same thing over and over and over again, and spending tax dollars when we're in the middle of a pandemic and trying to not cut our budget. We left our 2021 budget where it was in case the world went back to normal. But we've all sat down and said, okay, if the world doesn't get back till normal till next year, we know certain things in that budget that we aren't going to do, hire, or spend. So we are ready to do that. But this kind of money now on attorney fees and engineering, again, pardon me?
You've said it 3 or 4 times, attorney fees.
Well,
Let's get on something else.
My whole point is, it's time. I don't know what we can do to make this happen, and we need to.
Repeating it, though. We're doing
It
the same thing.
is worth repeating, because we've been doing it now for years, and it doesn't seem to be able to be signed. At some point, my last point, at some point, the DEC is going to look at us and say, you don't have signed water withdrawal permits. What happens? Nobody gets water.
We can't provide water to outside users if we don't have the authority to provide the water. And that's what the water withdrawal permits are all about. I've got to say that, I do appreciate your patience with me on this, but I did Friday, I tried to reach Attorney Russell by telephone and email. I was not able to, but he's diligent. I'm sure that I'll hear back from him. I'll follow up again tomorrow. But again, I just got the email sent to me, 4 minutes before the meeting. I'll take a look at it. But I really do think that if there's some issues, some of the issues really raised under numbers 12 and 13, those are more technical issues that are engineering questions. I really do think that, that it's above my pay grade. Someone like Gregor would be able to go through it and see what it says, what it means. Because at the end of the day, the intent, I know, I can see it in the record from this village board, has been pretty consistent. You're not looking to prey on anybody. You were asked to provide water, you're willing to provide water, and there hadn't been a rate increase in 11 years, which meant that village residents were subsidizing the residents in the town of Alexandria. This board grabbed the bull by the horns. You recognized it, you got to the bottom of it to try to make sure that village residents would no longer be subsidizing town residents. You can't. If you do that, you're in violation of Chapter 145 of the Village Code, and it's not doing a good service to village residents. That's what brought this about. I do think we can get it done, but my request would be to consider letting the village engineer take a look at those items in particular for the village and seeing if there are any clarifications needed.
Okay.
What I would like to see, just to finish, is if the IMA agreements that were done in December, already signed by Orleans, Clayton, and us, if they could be signed by 3 out of 5 board members, and then what work needs to be done now can be an amendment.
You certainly can do
And
that.
then we have,
You can do that, absolutely.
then we have IMA agreements for the DEC. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's, the issues are between the town and Orleans, because right now, Route 12 district has a wheeling charge.
Yes.
But the water from Route 12 comes through the Otter Street district, which does not have a wheeling charge to Orleans or to the Route 12 district. So they're gonna end up, the Route 12 district, the town, is gonna be paying the town in Otter Street district a wheeling charge.
Well, let
Which
me-
has nothing to do with
Yeah,
this,
let me-
but that's between the town of Alexandria and the town of
We
Orleans.
beat this thing to death.
Yes,
We
Yeah,
beat this to
that's-
death.
but
Let's go on to something
Yeah, but
else.
it's
You know, the
years,
thing is,
it's
but-
years, and that's why.
I know
Yeah,
we're beating
pull the
against
plug,
ourselves
pull the
here.
plug. Let's
No,
move
we're
on.
not.
Beat it against.
We're trying to make a point.
Well, I bet
Just
you
like the
everybody with
town
this is gone.
continues to try to make a point back to us about,
Well,
you know,
they
this
just need
agreement.
to do something, it's not, let's shut them off, that's all, let's go on to
it's
something.
6 months into it,
right,
and
let's go.
it's beyond.
Let's move on to
Okay.
something else here.
So we beat up the
I'm
water.
done.
For now.
Hearts for Youth, number 5. I was expecting a letter from Mr. Russell on the Hearts for Youth project to annex or not annex, but to grant them an access permit to their landlocked property.
Is he working for them,
Joe Russell is working for them, yes.
for Hearts for Youth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and Joe Russell asked me if he could contact the village, and I said, certainly, the village, I mean, he didn't want to seem that he was,
They're
acting out of bounds and being unethical by contacting the village if the village got the turn. I said, no, I said, it's fine, please contact the village and discuss the matter, so I know where he was going.
Between Ron Thompson, who is donating land to Hearts for Youth, and Hearts for Youth, they're supposed to be signing the paperwork on the transfer this week. One of the questions that came up last week is, because it'll end up being landlocked, they need a permanent access to the property. And the big question is, well, in 5 years, if Hearts for Youth moves, are they gonna sell it to a business? And now the business is going past through
We
here.
already discussed this 3 months ago.
Yes. But that
Still a stickler.
Huh?
has to change, the way we said we were gonna do it is not allowed. Because there's restrictions, and they said that we can't have restriction on it, correct?
Well, and I haven't been involved with the nitty-gritty details as of yet, but the key thing is just a couple quick points. That generally speaking, in New York State, you can't have a landlocked parcel. Generally speaking, in New York State, there's gotta be some form of access that's a permanent, perpetual access to get back and forth. That's a general rule. I don't know the specifics of this parcel, but one of the things that apparently is coming up is to provide a limited access, let's say a lease, that really won't be sufficient. The desire, I believe, is something more permanent that would be a perpetual easement. An easement would be an interest in property. I don't know the specifics with it, but I do understand that something like that might be possible from the village's standpoint if that would expire if certain conditions weren't met. So that there's a number of ways of getting there. Now, what Joe Russell had explained to me was that he was looking to get some clarification from the village, and then if it was acceptable, he would prepare a draft document, share it with the village, share it with me for consideration by the village board. But as of yet, I haven't heard back from him to know how successful that's been so far.
One suggestion that was said to me was, what if the property was given to the village, like the library is on village property, and then the village leases to Hearts for Youth for 100 years for the dollar, like the library.
Then we'd be responsible for the buildings if they walked away.
No, we would, what we discussed was allowing them, if they wanna walk away, take the building. If they walked away from the property, they would have to take the building. The concern is, if they were there and decided to sell the property, how does that impact the village with a business having an easement through village property, where we didn't get any further than that?
Well, I've seen people go bankrupt before. Have you ever tried to catch them? So if not that they're gonna go bankrupt, but we'll say that they dissolved tomorrow and they walked away and they're gone.
I think the concern was more that they get too big for the space and wanna move to something bigger. And then, since it was donated to them, they would think that it would be theirs to sell or use, and we wouldn't be able to pass that right of way to whoever buys it next. If the land was donated, since it's being donated to the village, it's our property. If they wanna sell their building, because it's being brought over from the hospital to here, they can take it with them or sell it to someone else. The land would still be village, and the right of way to that lot would still be there. It'd be no different than it is right now.
And if they ever did decide to move, I didn't ask this, then, is that, if the village owns the land and they decided they wanted to leave the building, could that be something that could then be utilized by the library?
Well, they don't have,
That's a long ways down the road, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess.
Food for thought for the next time.
You don't have anything from Joe Russell yet
Yeah.
anyway,
No.
regarding to it.
I don't think we wanna get stuck with those buildings, though.
Well, you just, when you lease them land, put in a clause in, and if they decide to move, they need to move their buildings.
From Mr. Ron Thompson. He just texted me, he says that if Hearts for Youth leaves, I will make the land revert to me.
Please don't leave.
So part,
He could do that when he's donating it, right?
Sure. I mean,
That would solve the whole problem.
Mr. Thompson
That would
owns the
solve it.
property, he's got any number of options available to him for the future.
So legally,
okay,
how
so
he
if
writes
Hearts
up
for
his
Youth leaves,
donation,
That's exactly,
Then
that
the
would be
land
the
goes-
best way to do that.
Right.
then the
That would
land
be
would
the
go
way.
back to Ron.
right,
Then
Hearts
go
for
back.
Youth puts the building there, we give them an easement, Hearts for Youth decides they've outgrown the property, can't use the building, doesn't want the building anymore, then they leave, donate the land back to Ron, and the
Don't donate it,
easement
he just
goes,
takes it back.
Yeah,
takes it
Ryan
back,
takes it
back.
takes it back, and the easement disappears.
Yeah, you could have an easement that would be terminable at a certain event in the future if you wish.
He says, end of need for a permanent right of way.
Exactly,
I'm fine with that.
so am I.
Well, I think we ought to,
I think that's the
We
way
need to-
we want it.
but the thing
We'll
is,
approach it like that.
right, I
Maybe
mean, are we
further
voting
ahead.
on that tonight, or?
No, we don't have to
we're
vote on it
waiting for
because
Joe Russell to
Okay.
send
Joe
us.
Russell's got
Right,
to.
but I'm just saying, we ought to have that from Ronnie in writing too.
Well, he will.
He will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
just,
we all want this to happen, it just has to happen
Yes,
the right
we
way.
want
we
this
just
to
need
happen.
to do it the right way.
So,
I
if
think
you
that's
just,
the right, I think that's the best way of
Yeah.
always.
You're good with that?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
like a terrific solution, as long as Joe Russell can come up with a rough draft of what they look to do, and if it's acceptable to the village board, I can make it happen.
Steve, can he call Joe Russell about Hearts for Youth and make it happen?
He doesn't have to.
Why are we gonna pay
No,
him
wait,
to
not
do
him,
it?
who's gonna do it?
Joe Russell,
Okay, but,
making it happen.
so
Joe
you're,
Russell
you're gonna
will-
call
yeah.
Joe Russell?
Yeah.
Joe
you're gonna
Russell
call-
will
okay.
write up that week.
Well, I'm sure Ronnie
Drew?
Thompson's gonna call.
Call Joe
Russell.
Russell, okay, I just forgot, we're not here by
Okay.
ourselves, okay, never mind.
We're
So
not
sit on
paying
old
him, though.
I wouldn't think that'd be anything to do with us.
No.
Right now.
Nope. All set for old business? New business, J&L Excavation Pay App number 9, $18,620.47.
I'll make a motion to pay them.
I'll second that.
Motion by trustee Ertz, second by trustee Millet to pay JL Excavation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? JL is paid. Summer events was put on. I think it's too
Don't look
early.
at me, I didn't
Nope.
do summer events.
I think you were, at
Yeah,
the
but I
meeting.
didn't put that on there, they had the meeting Monday night. Mary called me today, right now,
Nothing in June is canceled.
nothing in June is canceled, they're gonna go forward with the bike rally. They were concerned about having the tents downtown.
They have no
I-
events
I
until
know-
the big bike rally?
Like, nothing major.
Everything's for May has been canceled. The
Right.
River Fest for Fort Drum has been canceled.
Yeah,
The governor came out yesterday with the 4 steps, or was it,
A month ago.
month ago,
Month ago.
four days.
but it's still mentioned about
And
events gathering in places of business with less than 500 people.
But that's back
that's
to March.
phase, but
But
she's talking
still-
phase 4, which would open up at that time, but number-wise, if that's only saying 500, then we're gonna have more than 500 people here.
Well, I think
What-
we're not even at phase 1 yet. I think
No.
I don't think we can cancel June at this point. I
No.
think
We're not gonna cancel anything.
No, we're not
until
canceling
the
nothing.
governor allows us
we
go
need to
forward.
get to phase 4, and hopefully we get there on Friday, and then we,
We are
you
gonna
know,
get to phase 4.
Phase 1.
or not phase 4.
Phase 1.
Phase 1, sorry. That's what I've been talking about all day today. So say we get to phase 1 on Friday, and then it's every 2 weeks, hopefully, we get to phase 4. So hopefully by the Friday of the bike rally weekend, we're opening into phase 4. As long as the governor says we can have large groups, then I guess we're okay, but we're not there yet. But I don't think, with the anticipation of maybe opening for phase 1, I don't think we should cancel anything yet.
Well, just like Ronnie says, and Roger, that, the only way that they're gonna have their events is approval by
The
the
state.
state.
Right, because if they do anything wrong, we're gonna end up getting shut down as a region, not they, if anybody does anything wrong.
Don't worry, I met with, some of the chamber members, and I'm sure Bubba did too, and they are not gonna do anything to jeopardize
Right,
the downtown.
I understand that.
I spoke with Bob Hageman today from the county in taking direction from the governor's office. They did cancel the county fair, but I believe the best way that we need to approach our summer is, we have a special meeting that we're gonna be setting on May 21st, is wait till May 21st. Where are we May 21st? If we have to, we might have to have a special meeting to address the issues, or the chamber will have a special meeting to adjust to what the governor sets forth.
We can adjourn, I don't know, adjourn this, but continue this till our next meeting, which we can make May
I think it
21st.
will always be in.
At that
Right.
point, we have more information, and instead of saying today, everything has to shut down, which is not a good thing, we wait and see if we get to phase 1 by Friday. I keep saying phase 4.
We're 19 off. which they say we should make it.
Well, that's a good thing, and then hopefully everybody, you know, we all do what we're supposed to do and make it happen. And people have called me today and yesterday, and we want this to happen as much as they do, because they want the sales, well, we need the sales tax. So I think we just need to wait and see where the governor goes with our region.
Now, we're talking about the summer events here now. Shook, you talked to, Roger about, something about open container law.
Well, we're gonna get to that, I think that's in there
Okay.
someplace else.
Is that, all right,
Yeah.
There's a couple things that they're proposing.
okay.
Okay, so we're all set on the budget, we'll wait until the 21st, or as announced by the governor. Number 3 is budget limits. We'll put that on.
By the way, the chamber's gonna meet every Monday.
Yeah, they got another meeting next Monday at 5 o'clock.
Yep.
Because everything changes.
Right.
Daily.
We're gonna have
We're gonna meet
a
once
week,
a week.
once a week, right?
Okay, budget changes, and I know we all sat and talked about, okay, we didn't wanna take the money out of the budget, because if the world did open up after May 31st, what do? We don't have anything there to pay or do anything with. My only concern is that, I don't know if we need to put something in a motion but before anybody gets brought back, before anything gets open, before anybody goes out and buys anything, that we have already said on that list that they get approval. Nobody has, absolute right in any department to go buy something that we've already looked at the list and said, might not be able to do buying all this equipment this year, and we might not be able to do this, and we might not be able to do this. It is a time of austerity, and we need to pinch our pennies and do what we can to conserve.
Like, you look at Ogdensburg's gonna have a shortfall of almost $900,000. They're looking at cutting people and everything else. We're already did our cuttings and everything else, so we have to. Only thing we have left in there is to control the budget.
Right.
In other words, the spending. So I think that we should put some kind of limit on the spending unless it's an emergency fund. Unless it's something they need for an emergency, and then they can come to the mayor or some board member and talk to us, and if it's an emergency situation, then we can buy it. We should have a dollar amount on how much.
Anything other than an emergency has to be pre-approved, and, I'm gonna sit here and say, if it's not an emergency, you don't need that new chair this week, or this month, or maybe even this year.
Well, I think that we're all on the same page on that, but maybe, we got a meeting on the 21st? How about everybody think about what they wanna put on it for a limit, and then we'll discuss it on the next meeting, what we wanna put on it for a limit, cause that'll put us into going into
Well,
the
I'm
new
also-
budget.
Well, that will also give you an idea if we're like hiring summer folks back
Right.
at this point.
Right.
Our new budget begins a
Right,
week later.
because
so-
we're really at the end of the year,
Yeah.
starting the year.
And I understand we're going for 2021, but I also think in the 3 weeks that we have left, whatever we have left in May, there should be no frivolous spending.
Well,
I think that already went out to all our
Okay.
departments.
Yeah. Well,
I'm good.
I
So
think,
it's a motion to table it till
Hello?
the 21st.
They didn't really wanna talk about it.
Yes.
I think that we wanna think about what we wanna put in there for budget limits, before, of spending. Like years ago, before when I was on the board, only certain people could go over their elections and buy stuff. They only could spend so much money, and it's not, we're not having a hard time with the DPW.
No.
Don't get me wrong, but the whole idea is, we gotta watch every penny.
We need to protect our budget. So,
We'll table that till 21st.
Is somebody trying to call us?
It hasn't come, there's nobody that's been on the line yet.
Why don't you give them your phone number, Steve? Maybe they're having a hard time coming through.
315-778-9098.
Hello? Yes. Would you like me to put you on speaker?
Chinese
Okay.
takeout.
Molly, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you're on. Can Can you hear us?
We have a delay, yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
we're on a delay, aren't we?
Yeah, you gotta listen on the phone, not on your computer. Turn off your computer.
Yeah, I am trying to comment.
That's why she's on that 15-second delay. You hear the phone ringing on her? Are you there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes. Are you there? Yes, I am. I would just like the village board to be aware that if you, can you hear us?
She's
It's
got
feeding
the
back.
computer on.
When she talks,
Tell her to
when we
mute
talk,
the
it feeds
computer.
back in their system.
Mute your phone or your computer.
Hold on. Julia?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like the village board to be aware that if they're going to put stipulations on what people can spend, that stipulation really should go through the accountant and the village clerk.
Okay.
Because we need to set a limit that isn't every time the guys go to Garlock and
No.
spend something. It should be a large amount to come through, us for spending, because that's going to take so much time that it will, delay the processes that we already have in place.
Okay.
I still think the board should have an input on the spending.
I think it's something that we need to table till next month, and
Yeah.
I know we
Not next
will,
month,
and we're
next
next,
21st.
till the 21st.
21st, and then we can talk about it.
We can
Yep.
talk to you in between and to Tina, but I still think at some point there needs to be a spending cap on the new budget. And that we need to work it out so it happens the best way it can.
Oh, I agree. I just don't think it should be every purchase the village does.
No,
Not.
it's not every
Certainly
purchase.
we'll
We're
get
gonna put a
hold of,
limit that they
We will
can,
coordinate with everyone. I just want, the board to be aware
we'll
that
get with,
it's a big process every day. We order things all day long.
no,
Yeah,
it's not the
it
little
is.
things,
That's
it's
no
the big
problem.
things.
Yeah.
so we'll get with Tina and you, and we'll come up with a figure and present it the May 21st meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, and I think the rest of the board members want
Bye.
to think about what the figures, just in case.
So I'm gonna make motion table to the 21st.
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Milliot, second by trustee DeRigo to table budget limits till May 21st. All in favor? Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Okay. DPW, cleaned out the side of North Crossman and Northern Streets, where the brush was on
Oh, yeah.
the highway, and that needs to be hydro-seeded to stop erosion. So Jarrett got a quote from Jeff Hillick to hydro-seed the right-of-way. It's approximately 425, feet of shoulder on Northern, 380 on the shoulder of North Crossman, and that's for $1,480.
$1,480?
$1,480.
For the two streets.
Is that, what budget does that come out? That comes out.
Should be this budget.
This year.
No, I know, but I mean, isn't there like a
Shade tree
shade tree or something
line.
budget there?
I don't think
They
that's.
had to come out of shade tree.
Yeah. Is there enough money in there for that?
I
haven't
believe
There
so.
might be no line
From
item.
last month,
Yeah,
I don't,
leftover.
somewhere in one of those areas.
What
they did.
is, our protocol on,
It's under the amount,
that's what I'm getting at here. What is that?
by $20.
If it's more than $2,000, is it, how much?
1,500.
1,500 you need
Get
bid.
it,
You
yeah.
have to get more than one quote.
Oh, okay, get it on the system. Okay.
Where's just three places they're doing?
Two.
Two.
Two?
It's Northern and North Crosman.
Northern and North Crossman.
Well, when I go down North
Oh,
Crossman
yeah, I
to
see that,
Briarwood,
that's
Yeah.
nice down there too.
Right, but you're gonna have to, you can't leave it mud.
No, no,
So you're gonna have to.
we're gonna have to do something on that, cause that one will really wash out quick.
You're gonna improve fine seed.
Yeah.
I'll
He
make
says
a motion,
this'll,
yeah.
they
Yeah, I think that's something.
This said it
Go ahead,
should start
Julia.
growing
Yeah.
within 10 days.
Yeah,
If
I
we-
make a motion that we buy the seed.
I
I
second
mean,
it.
if you
I'll second.
clear the land,
Yeah,
then.
and it looks
Motion by
great.
trustee Erb, second by trustee Millet,
Big-
for, Jeff Hillick to hydroseed on those 2 streets. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Oh, you gotta remain at that other one.
That brings up Church Street project.
Nobody talked to me about this till right before the meeting, so go ahead, Dave.
This is new
This
too.
is something that, we had talked about the village clearing off the edge of the street where the dirt is mounted,
From the
like they did
sidewalk
on
to the
Church
curb.
Street. They did the south side, JL Construction did that.
I don't have that on my thing.
It's not on there.
It's not on there.
It's not on there, but it's part of the hydro
If
seed.
you're coming into town under the arch, he's talking about on the right-hand
Yeah, I
side.
know,
The
I know.
right-hand side.
That is cleared.
The village was gonna do it, but how long would that take for us with everything going on? With, JL Excavation, they did Church Street, the south side, in a day and a half. And they used 2 village trucks to haul the dirt, which was good dirt, and it's at DPW. So, I was told it would be between 5,000 and 6,000, and the estimate now is 10,000, but
No,
it's,
I say it's not a necessity.
Nope.
That the other side of the street doesn't look as pretty as one side, and when the DPW and the village has money for.
and I gotta be honest with you, I talked to the town, and I haven't met with Mike, Tibbles yet, but, I talked to the town board members up there, and they said there's no reason the town couldn't come in and do it with a grader.
A later
With-
date.
with the
It's
grader
not-
or
It's
the-
not a necessity.
okay.
No,
We
with a
just
grader.
got done talking
And
about
do
permits
it
and,
After the summer, do it in October, or September,
or
maybe
next
after.
spring.
Yeah.
whatever.
Right, and anything that's ripped up
And
on
that's
the
a shared
right-hand,
service.
coming down on the right-hand side, anything that's already ripped up by
They have
JL,
to
they're
take it.
fixing.
They're fixing
So
it.
the rest of it, we don't need to have done that.
And I've already, and I talked to a couple of the board members about doing the other side from town Alexandria, and they said that
Okay.
we probably could get ahold of, the highway, and they've got the equipment over there, shared services and
Yep.
yours.
Remember that next year.
Alright. Number 5 is set a special meeting for May 21st for the Ready Grant, the seeker, and bond resolution.
I'd like to make a
And
motion
budget.
to set a special meeting for May 21st, 2020 for the Ready Grant Seeker and Bond Resolution.
And do you wanna add budget limits to that too?
And budget limit discussion to that meeting.
Motion made by trustee Fulmer,
She seconded it. Julia seconded it.
I'll second it.
and seconded
Can I
by
ask a
trustee
question?
Oh, I
Erb.
thought you did.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Molly presented a letter from the internet provider that anyone that is using village computers needs to sign an agreement with, making sure that the internet is used correctly. There's been,
Who's it from?
The company.
this is from All IT Information, so that would be,
Our IT people now?
yes, that would be from Carthage.
So have
That's fine.
everybody sign it.
Pardon me?
I said have everybody sign it.
Do you need a motion for that?
A
Yes.
motion to have I make a motion
I'll make a
that
motion.
whoever uses village
I'll
computers needs to sign the agreement, you're using it properly.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Erb, second by trustee Palmer. All in favor is aye.
Aye. We have to wait a second for flush.
Wait a minute.
Not snowing anymore, the sun is out again.
Mm-hmm. For this minute.
Number 7, accept the
There you
tax warrant.
I'm sorry.
Are you a yes or a no on the IT signage on the
Yes.
form? Okay, there we go.
Opposed? That motion's carried. Number 7, accept the tax warrant for 2020, authorize the clerk treasurer to send to Jefferson County.
I make a motion, we do.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Millet, second by trustee DeRio, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Tax extension letter. That is there's a letter from, Barbara Van Epps from NICOM, and it has to do with extending interest-free period on property tax payments. During the past several weeks, NICOM has received several calls and emails regarding a payment on interest and penalties on property tax payments. Villages generally do not have unilateral authority to extend a tax-free period with respect to payment of property taxes. Basically, it's, the village doesn't ever ask for an extension, and I don't see us asking for extension on property tax.
They wanna give us an extension to do
We would have to apply to
it?
the,
I don't think we need them. Do you think we would, Jim? I mean, we've got, the tentative rule was done on time, the notices were sent out on time, the tax bills will be made on time. I mean,
Could
we're
you
right on schedule.
Send that, give that to him.
Yeah, I've not seen this particular document. The governor issued Executive Order 202, I think it was 20220 or 20221, that had a portion that extended the time period, certain assessment periods and tax periods if the municipality needed the extra time. But it was discretionary if you needed it. And now a town, for instance, might need it as a tax jurisdiction if they have, like, the fourth Tuesday in May is the date when the Board of Assessment Review will meet. Towns might need it, but I don't know if the village is gonna need that.
And
But
I don't
it's an
think any
issue
of
for
the towns-
towns a lot of times, but I don't know if the village.
I don't think any of the towns in Jefferson County even needed it.
They
It went
may not.
outside of that, but every town made the tentative rule.
Right,
at
and
the time.
basically, what she's saying here, they have no idea if the governor may not change his mind, but say there's an extension, but as of right now, there's not.
I don't think we
And
would
if
have,
you-
it's
you
nothing
want
I
one,
think we even
have-
have to
yeah.
worry about.
Okay.
We only have one payment anyway, so, I mean, ours is due at the end of June. It's not a three-payment system.
number 9 is 12-week allowance for the DPW workers.
Okay, you want me to handle this one? I talked with, Brewster and Tim, what's his?
Van Brockman?
Trader.
No, the other one. Trader?
Trayer.
Trader.
This morning. We, had a company come in and,
Yeah.
do the uniforms and stuff for them. They're getting the wrong size pants, they don't get the right things, they don't get this, they don't get that. Andrew Getman, I guess, didn't get any pants for almost a month or whatever. So,
Is anybody telling Molly?
yeah, so what they wanna do is they'd really like to go back to the old way, where they got their T-shirts in the summertime, the $250 clothing allowance, and the boot allowance that they get each year, which, on paper, it's less money if we do that way, according to what we were paying for clothing allowance through the firm. And we have to, as a board, kind of, we don't have to vote on it, but we have to
can't.
talk about it, because they gotta go to their union if we're in agreement, if they wanna do it and it's gonna cost us less money before they go to their union.
Has anybody gone to the company that we're using and
They
complained?
don't wanna do the company anymore. It's that simple, they don't wanna do it. Everything has been wrong for a year, since they started it, and they're all sick of it.
Oh, okay.
Why do we switch to a company?
Because that's what the union had to do.
Okay, so if we approve this, they approve it, they'll go to their union
And asked to go back the whole way.
that they would like a clothing allowance, the food
Oh,
allowance.
it's in the t-shirt one.
The problem is you have a contract with the clothing person.
Well, we do, but we don't. We have one, and I think it ends in June. Does it end in June?
I don't know if it ends in June, or if there's an automatic renewal in there, you might have had already 90 days, 60 to 90, I think, to
Well,
cancel it.
that's something we can check into,
okay.
but we've had a lot of problems with them, and we're paying for stuff that the guys aren't using.
Okay, but I think, has anybody called them and complained, the
This is
company?
the first time that they wanna get it on the docket
Yeah.
right now and work on it so that they can work on it with their union, and we could have their union go after that company for the clothes.
Right, and we should too, but I think we at least have to put the company on notice.
It'd be a matter of contract, I've not
Yeah.
seen any
So
contract.
we
I
need the
haven't seen the
contract.
contracts either.
Yeah.
So Molly's got, that's in the office. I don't have a problem switching if we can get out of it
Exactly.
without a penalty and all of that, so I can talk to Molly about that if you want. 'Cause that, and
She's already looked in.
okay, going back to that, it was something that the union wanted to do, as far as I remember, when we were doing that the other year.
Yeah, matter of fact, that was in March, year before that,
Okay?
right? Yeah. Okay. Are we on public concerns?
Public concern.
Ron, we're on public concerns.
Well, I got a text from Park Island Spirits.
From who?
Ronnie said, wait a minute, it's gonna take him a few minutes to dial in.
Well, he can still
It's an,
do his
it,
tax.
you know, to the public, what we talk about, or when we speak or make a motion, it's a 15-second delay of what we're doing and what you see. Just to let everybody know, between the system and live, it's 15-second delay.
You can still read the text while we wait for Ronnie to call. Yep.
Never mind,
Wait
there you
no
go.
further. Hello? Okay, you wanna go on speaker?
Yep.
Okay, hold up one second. It's Roger from Dark Island Spirits.
Hi, Rod.
Hey, everybody. I'd like to talk to you for a moment just about open container, and then I think Ron is going to call in and talk about parking. So if you
Roger,
bear with
Roger,
me for just a second
Roger.
on this, because I know a
Roger.
little bit about the law on this,
Roger.
because I'm pretty much involved in it, but,
Roger, Shookie's trying to get your attention.
Roger, remember that paper that you gave me?
I'm sorry?
Remember that paper you gave me the other day?
Yes.
Would you like me to give each board member one of
Oh,
those?
yeah, that would be great. That gets towards the end. That's great. Thank you on that. So just a brief little thing on liquor law. There's no state law that prevents an individual from having an open container on public land or in a village. Every municipality typically has their own law. We have our open container law. And there are actually, if you read the law, there are times where you can rescind that law for special events and like picnics and fairs and special times. So the law is all based on the municipality. However, in New York State, if you have a liquor license, the state liquor authority restricts us from selling an open container or drink to an individual who will take it out of our facilities onto the streets, regardless of what the municipal law is. So the state liquor authority is really the controlling governing body for us as sellers. However, the state liquor authority, working with the governor, realized that this COVID problem is going to really hurt bars and restaurants. So they have allowed for a law change that says the state liquor authority now allows us as on-premise providers to sell drinks, open containers, to leave our facility, provided that the municipality also allows it within their time frames and their areas. So what we're asking is the change ordinance to allow us to take advantage of that state liquor authority relief. And once that is done, if you'd give us a few days to come back to you and say, with an official request on how we would like to take advantage of that, because we don't want people walking down the street at 2 o'clock in the morning with drinks. That isn't our intent. We'd like to come to you with a reasonable request for an area that we will encompass to allow people to go out and enjoy the food and beverage within reasonable time frames. So what I did is I submitted a paragraph to Shooky that I think might be the legal answer to us being allowed to do that. So if you guys could maybe look at that and have the attorney look at that, because this is almost a double negative about what you can't prevent. So our request to you as a chamber is to allow us to take advantage of the state liquor authority's relief during the COVID-19, and we would come back to you with the specifics of when we would like to take advantage of that. So that's kind of where we stand.
So you'd have something in writing for us on, the 21st?
Yeah, that's right, Steve. And what we do is we draw out a map, like we have for specific events in the past, but we'd like to say, okay, this is gonna be the blanket authority area for the summer within these hours.
For the
and
summer?
understand that we're also saying that you, of course, can rescind that at any time if something goes wrong, or, so it isn't that we're asking for a carte blanche to do this regardless. We're just asking that the law be made correct so that you can then authorize it with us giving you the formal request.
Why all summer and not when you're having functions?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear that. Judy, I couldn't hear you.
Why open container all summer and not when you have functions like you normally do?
Well, think of it this way. Let's take the dockside as an example. We don't yet know what the constraints are going to be for social distancing within a restaurant and how that will change through the various phases. So the dockside might very well be limited to 2 tables. Well, but they have the capacity to serve food and beverage for 100 people who might go out and disperse throughout the community. They might go up to the pavilion. They might go down to Casino Island. They might go out to the dock and sit on the bench and eat their meal and have a glass of wine. I mean, that's what the governor and the state liquor authority thought would be appropriate for the state, and that's why they released it.
Okay, so you're gonna send us something?
Yes, we certainly will. We will have it to you within the next few days. But I did give Shooky what I thought would be the correct legal terminology to allow this to happen. And again, that's just to get the law right, because there might be a process that's required that would take a little time, and we'd like to get ahead of it to get the law correct. But you still will have to give us permission, because as I wrote it, it says with special permission. Perhaps the attorney can answer that.
Do you have it in writing that the governor said this can be done?
Yeah, I texted it to Steve at the beginning of the meeting. But keep this in mind, Judy. It doesn't even matter to you. I mean, it matters to you in your community that we do this appropriately. What we're really saying is that they have finally released us. So I'm the person who normally risks losing my license if I sell a drink to someone who walks out the door. I wouldn't be asking for this if my license was now at risk. But on the contrary, now we're not at risk, so we're asking to do that. You know what I mean? So it's us who have always been constrained.
I understand that, and if Steve will copy what you sent him, and we can all read it before the 21st.
You bet. We will include that in our map and our timeline request.
Okay, Roger, you still there?
Yes.
You still there?
Yes.
I also drove downtown, after that discussion that you and I had the other day.
Yes.
And Judy went down and she thought there would be 20, but I told her, I said we could share some. I'd like to get with you, because I'd like to bring it up to the board at the same time as this, about the 10-minute pickup areas for the restaurants to go.
Oh, a parking space.
Parking spaces, and
Yeah, that's great. In fact, Ron and I have been talking about that, and Ron was gonna call on this, but we could certainly talk right now.
I found 9 of them. I figured 9.
Is that how many you felt that there would be appropriate, as 9 of them in the community would kind of serve it?
I think 9 would cover a lot of them.
Right.
And every one that I went, and I'd like to walk around with you and show you where they are if you've got time, maybe tomorrow or
Sure.
tomorrow afternoon or Thursday. And I picked corner spots so they're easy to get in and easy to get out.
Yeah, that sounds great. And we were talking a little bit about this, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's about having curbside pickup locations in front of the businesses that can take advantage of selling food and drinks to go. It's almost going to have to be self-policing to some degree, because no police officer is going to know that someone is or isn't in our particular business, which was the idea, that there's going to be curbside pickup for the dockside, and they're going to have a sign on a pole in front of their business, and the only person who should be stopping there is someone that's going in to pick up some food, or the dockside's bringing it out to them. It's going to be a little bit problematic to watch it, but we don't want somebody parking there and then going, for a walk down the road.
So you're gonna police it yourself, and you're gonna put up signs?
Yeah, we were thinking of having the chamber design a sign that would fit on the poles that we all decide are appropriate. And on those particular poles, we won't have a parking meter. We'll instead have the sign, and it will designate the rules and the name of the business that is meant to serve.
Okay, so you're gonna, for the next meeting.
So I'll get with you, I'll be out of town in the morning tomorrow. If it's nice, I'll get a hold of you tomorrow. If not, we'll do it Thursday.
Get a hold
Yeah,
of
that sounds great.
I wanna be on that too.
Okay.
Okay, all right, beautiful. Well, thank you.
I didn't know if I could.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.
I also printed off a map so I could design the area where we're talking about.
I wanna go.
Oh, I thought it had a list of
Just
the,
call me, I'm off the next 3 days after.
so it's gonna be bars and restaurants that can do this?
Yeah, but you see what he's talking
Yeah.
about, not having tables outside. It's just pretty much take and go really, and,
We just need to make sure we treat everybody fairly and
Yeah.
make sure that everybody gets included.
yeah. Well, that's, if you look at that map, I even went on the outside and make sure the Legion was involved and do it all the way up through around. I got a map, but I wanna go with Roger on it and make sure that it's right there.
Need being for the chamber, I'll go with it too.
Yeah.
Okay. Next,
Anything else under new business?
anybody else calling in?
Hold on. No, just Ronnie saying thanks for picking corner spots.
Anything else? Public concern? Anybody have public concern? 482-9902 or 315-778-9098 is my cell phone.
Something we didn't bring up, and, I don't like getting texts while I'm doing that, because we kinda overdid it. I'd like to discuss something that was done that I want out here, the people are listening, I want them to know. This deal that, putting this thing in.
Yep.
Was not ever voted on. And it reads in the law book that any decision by trustees has to be during the session. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
So, that was done without board approval.
I thought the mayor could make that decision.
If the village acts as a body, it acts as a body in open session. But I'm not sure what the specific topic is. That's just
Well,
a general rule.
The cameras that we have here, we got the camera, the live stream thing. And I just felt that it really wasn't a board decision. And I think Bubba feels the same way as I do.
Right, I mean, we're trying to save money.
We're trying to cut corners and say, geez, we don't want them guys to spend $1,000, we don't want them guys to spend $1,500. We we just stepped out
I
and spent.
understand, we spent $1,500 on this, and I understood, was told that the mayor had the ability to make the decision as long as it was under $2,000. And, he asked me my opinion, and quite honestly, if COVID is gonna end up you don't know how long, they're saying today, maybe 2 years till you have a vaccine. And I don't know that we wanna have this meeting, zoning, planning, and any other special meetings that we have up at the town. And quite honestly, I am not comfortable going to the town for all these meetings. I'm not comfortable taking all of our bills up there to be signed. I'm not comfortable having executive session up there. I'm just not comfortable.
Well, many years ago, before the place burnt down, the village and the town was together. So,
That's a
you
moot
know, I
point.
mean,
Yeah. We're
I
not
mean,
together.
I think it's kind of like, and I don't mean this offensive, but I think that's personal. That's why you don't really wanna go up there.
Well, that's allowed to happen.
Yeah, but it's personal, is it for the good of the board, you know what I mean?
I believe so. My personal feeling is that I don't think it's appropriate for us to truck all our stuff up there. We are an independent body, and if this goes on for the next 2 years, I don't see us schlepping up there to do this.
So, let me just throw something in there. I know this is done and over with because we got it now, but with the chamber's meeting was on Zoom. Now, how much did that cost them? Anybody know
How much did that cost?
yeah,
I have no idea.
Ronnie, are you still on? Can you text us back and see if you know how much that meeting cost you guys last night to be on Zoom?
He's on, cause he's texting me right there. I feel that if we're cutting corners on this and trying to save money on the village all over, eventually, if this was gonna drag on, there would have been some kind of funding out there for this stuff. Some
Right.
kind of federal funding or government funding to help
And the
us.
thing is, 2 months down the road here, we're
That
gonna
last
be able to let
night,
people in here.
the chamber met last night and had that on Zoom, that thing last night.
Right.
And it was free.
There
But
you go.
that was for the
That's
chamber
like, yeah.
members and not the general public.
Oh, no, you can do it to anybody, you can do it for.
Well, you also have a limit with that. I think it was Ogdensburg that had a meeting the
We
other
aren't gonna
day.
have 1,000.
Yeah, or
I
2,000
understand.
people.
So wait, can we let's just say this, you're not happy that the decision was made and it's done, as Bubba said,
Right, yeah.
it's done and it's over, yes. We are trying to cut corners and keep costs, and then the legalities of how much a mayor can agree upon, and that can be looked into, so we can be clear on that going forward, but,
We acknowledge your thinking.
But the thing is, Shirley voted no, I voted no,
and we voted yes.
and you.
But I didn't vote no.
It wasn't
I
a
just,
no.
Okay,
we
we
did
vote.
not
What
vote.
is it? Vote.
Well, I mean, there wasn't a discussion, and then we made our opinion on it.
Right, he made a decision to purchase it, and like I asked Molly, how much is it gonna be? And does the mayor have the right to spend that? And she said, yes, we can if it's under $2,000.
And he did ask everyone here how
But
they
you
felt about it.
you can't poll on the phone.
Well, then
That's why you
just-
don't see me answer
Right,
emails.
but then he could have just spent the money on his own without asking anybody,
But I
technically.
asked everybody, instead of just
Mhm.
doing it without
Right.
speaking to the whole
But,
board.
but the law reads that you really are supposed to bring it up for a vote. Am I right or wrong?
Where do we have the law that says that anything, what is
You want me
it?
to go get the law book and show you? 'Cause
Well, I
read
don't
it.
know.
We don't
I mean, I
need to
did.
take it that
No.
far right now.
I just want you to realize we
Okay.
can't make decisions over the telephone and all these texts that we keep sending
I
out.
know that.
Are you this, are you that, you wanna do this? That's why you do not see me answering texts back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like text.
Because
I wanna see it on paper.
I don't like to vote
I like
on
to see
the
it on
phone.
paper, not on the phone.
Okay.
That's my problem,
Yep.
voting on the phone. I don't believe in it.
We're giving an opinion on the phone.
Huh?
Giving an opinion.
Exactly.
We didn't vote. Yeah.
Opinion
what
or
we
voting
thought.
or anything, you know? I just, I don't like it. It's kinda like behind closed doors. Let's see.
Public concerns, we all done with
Yeah,
public
we are all
concerns?
done with public concerns.
Phone's not ringing?
No.
Okay.
Wait, he just got a text.
You have a text?
No, I got a text from Mary Campos, and it says, but it's free, and upgrades if you want to long sessions, which is over 40 minutes.
There's a charge for everything,
Yeah.
ultimately.
Okay.
Okay, it's water over the dam.
Motion go into executive for litigation
I'll make a
and
motion.
specific.
Hold it, public concern.
What do you think?
Good job, being secretary, doesn't she?
Hmm?
Good job being secretary.
Yes, she does. As long as she remembers where she is.
Well, I think she's ordered pizza.
I want Chinese.
They're not even open. I can't understand why they're not open.
Me too. There's no Chinese restaurant in Alexandria Bay.
I'm not sure.
Or a bakery. There's no Chinese food or bakery.
Even the electric kitchen up
If we
there.
have money in the budget, can I spend it?
Okay, that was Molly.
Okay,
And Molly, she said a question for you, that at the time of this, that the mayor had $500 in his contractual budget. There was money in equipment, a budget, and that her understanding is if it was less than $2,000, the mayor could make that purchase.
I'd have to look at the procurement policy to see what the procurement policy says, but generally speaking, what happens.
I'm pretty sure Molly knows.
is
how it goes.
You still undertake certain actions in open sessions.
Okay.
That's the intent behind it.
When you're spending money, you have to do it in open session.
I know,
anything but,
no, I was starting to make the motion,
Go and do.
go in
do
executive
transaction.
sessions for litigations, and special personnel.
I'll
Motion.
second that motion.
motion by trustee DeRigo, second by trustee Fulmer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Time is 7:26.
Gotta make sure we're